Boomerang X is a fast-paced action battler in which you use, you guessed it, a boomerang to dismantle an array of shadow creatures in a uniquely styled world filled with lore concerning the missing URN species. Hey guys, it's Cody with Indie Game Pulse. If you want to find the newest and best indie games and hear genuine reviews from an indie game fanatic like yourself, click subscribe and the notification bell to make sure you don't miss another video. Let's get into it. Thank you to the folks at Devolver Digital for sending a review code my way. While I think this is a great game to play and will be an excellent one for speedrunners, for my taste it's a bit on the light side concerning the story and world building. The focus of the game is obviously on the frenetic fighting sequences, so I won't spend too long analyzing the story here. But as your faceless and nameless character washes ashore a mysterious island, his only weapon has been shattered, so he does what any madman would do and enters the nearest cave. Fortunately, he quickly finds an X-shaped boomerang, a plot twist which I'm sure none of you saw coming. As he ventures through ramshackle tunnels and remnants of a civilization left behind by time, he encounters a millipede named T-Pan, through which all of the history of the URN, a group of mantis-like creatures, is conveyed. T-Pan is not a mantid, but is well versed in their culture and history, and while at times he might be inadvertently destroying bits and pieces of said history, his heart is in the right place. He tells of a magical stringed instrument which imbued powers, of corridors between worlds, and bits and pieces about the history of the shadow creatures too. There are plenty of remnants from the URN cultures, such as collapsed ruins, which will be helpful during the fight sequences, and plenty of statues, or petrified remains, I'm not really sure which, but it does make you contemplate. This is not a straightforward story, and even after playing through the game twice, I still have questions, but I like that as it allows my imagination to do some work and fill in the gaps, or play through again and hope to pick up on more hints. However, there is no background given to your character with his mummified hands, so let your imagination run wild regarding his identity and motivations. Now before we get to the action in just a second, I do want to mention the outstanding art, combining ancient aesthetics with a graphical style that I don't even know how to describe. It's like there are little splats of paint everywhere, even in the heads-up display graphics like your shield meter. In the landscapes though, the small splats add some texture to the area and make it feel a bit less pristine and polished, which suits the rundown nature of the world you're exploring. The enemies are dark and menacing, ranging from distorted spiders and bees to flying dragons and giant butterflies. The more advanced enemies have glowing gems, which are their weak spots, and although in my footage their color is a reddish pink, there is an adjustable option in the menu to change to whatever color you prefer, along with a couple other colors that you can change in case you're colorblind, or if you just want to change them up for fun. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay now. Like I mentioned earlier, you gain your boomerang and are slowly introduced to its mechanics one by one as you fight your way through waves of enemies in an arena setting. One very important note here is that you don't need to defeat every enemy in each wave, but only the ones which are required and highlighted. In the top right of your screen, you can see how many required enemies are left to kill, and if you start feeling overwhelmed by enemies, just remember to kill the important ones. Most times after you progress through an arena, you will maybe learn a bit more about the story and history of this place, gain a shield upgrade at the Ancient Punch Bowl, and sometimes be granted a new boomerang power by playing the conical stringed instrument of the gods. These powers drastically change the way you play the game and see your enemies, and trust me, you will need to use all of them to beat the game. As you gain new powers, like the ability to catapult yourself towards your boomerang, or slow down time while charging up your throw, your enemies will also increase in number and in intricacy, with some larger ones requiring multiple hits, and oftentimes your choices of a landing place will be pretty slim. The slingshot power-up is the biggest game changer as it allows you to stay off the ground pretty much indefinitely, but the time slowing mechanic is also super useful in nailing the perfect shots with narrow margins. In each arena, you'll also find a limited number of shield regenerations, which restore one shield if you have been hit before. The only downside is that you have to stand there long enough, maybe 2 to 3 seconds, for it to engage, and it takes some planning so as to not be hit by an enemy while doing this. There are some other power-ups that you'll learn, but I don't want to spoil everything, and while they might be shown in the game footage, hopefully it will just be a little teaser for you. I found the gameplay to be extremely fun and addicting, but at times, especially early on, I didn't feel much of a challenge. However, in the last 2 to 3 stages, the action and intensity ramped up significantly, and the final stage took me roughly around an hour to beat, and I did so by the skin of my teeth. It's rare for me to actually feel a heightened sense of urgency during games recently, but the level of accuracy and precision that the final stage required, combined with the fast-paced soundtrack that I'll touch on in a minute, really amped me up. You'll notice in the menu that there aren't any difficulty options, but there is a New Game Plus once you beat the game, and I can confirm that it really ramps up the difficulty. I was struggling to progress past the first 2 or 3 stages even, where I previously thought they were a cakewalk, like tutorial-style levels. In the menu, you can also enable a speedrun timer, and I can't wait to see what kinds of times people are posting in this game. The controls are ultra responsive, and all the actions are rebindable on keyboard and mouse and controllers, so if you don't like the way something feels, change it. Kudos to the developers at Dang for including that option. On keyboard and mouse, left click served to throw and slingshot me toward my boomerang, and right click recalled the boomerang to me. WASD is standard movement with spacebar to jump and left shift to slow time. I didn't play using a controller as I prefer keyboard and mouse for games like this that require precision aiming and twitch reflexes, and Boomerang X feels so satisfying when you hit a difficult shot. I mentioned the music for a second before, but for the most part the soundtrack is absent, only showing up when you're engaged in a fight sequence. While to me none of the music was particularly memorable, during the fight sequences it really steps up and delivers some blood-pumping rhythms, but often using more traditional or old-style instruments. Some string plucking here and there, some drum beats, and it fits the style and atmosphere of the game. So the question is, should you play Boomerang X? I recommend it, but with the concession that I think it's not perfect for everyone. If long, fast-paced action sequences stress you out, then this game probably isn't for you. But if you love a good challenge and that satisfying feeling of nailing an immaculate shot on reflexes alone, then I think you'll love Boomerang X. It does have a stylish art direction and an interesting story and history to decipher between the lines. For me, I think fans of games like Ghost Runner and Adverse will probably feel right at home with Boomerang X, and with the speedrun and New Game Plus options, it provides a good bit of replayability too. Thank you very much to my 1,144 subscribers for your support. If you like what you see here at Indie Game Pulse, join us on Discord and consider helping us grow by supporting us on Patreon. Links are in the description. For more top indie game countdowns and reviews, check out the videos on your screen now, and I'll see you on the other side.